Origin just mostly geographic, and this is why the world without sharks might be your biggest nightmare. वैसे हम कैसे geographic? Okay, yeah, I know in any ecosystem, right? It's like it's been like millions of years, right? And the everything basically like turned out in a way that everything depends on each other, right? That's how evolution work. That's how natural selection work, right? So we are in this kind of a place where most things have place in the ecosystem. If they are like removed for forcibly removed, I don't know, by human factors or whatever, because we are the only one who became this kind of a dominating figure who can have this kind of effect. Who, if removed, basically would fuck up the whole ecosystem, right? I'm sure shark is also that. Basically, like keeps the ecosystem of like oceans and things like stable. If they're removed, something else would be dominant. That would be too problematic. Who the fuck knows, right? But yeah, in like if you told like when I was a kid or something like, oh, sharks might be important to ecosystem, like what the fuck you talking about? That those are just nightmarish figure, right? And most people who don't have any knowledge about this or don't care to know about this, they probably have some similar thing as well. Who cares about shark? You hear about this all the time in the news, like this thing is going extinct, that thing is going extinct. These are the same people like, who cares? I don't care, without actually realizing what kind of effect this would have in ecosystem. So it's going to be an interesting video, educational video from geographic. So let's do this one.
Remember when I said I'd show a cactus my uvula before I go out into the ocean? Yeah, it was a tough cactus. I went swimming with sharks to see them in person and instead almost saw Steve Irwin, shout out to the GOAT. That aside, I'm gonna make you like sharks in this video, but before things get better, first they gotta get worse, so thalassophobic's warning, here's the part where it hurts. Honest question, has there ever been a horror movie about jellyfish? It's not like Poseidon didn't flush a metric ton of source material. You're looking at, unironically, one of the worst sights in nature. A jellyfish bloom. It's a problem for many reasons. One, it's basically a bath bomb from Shaitan, but also cause it's one of the last signs the ocean gives before it hits the point of no return. When a part of Neptune's neighborhood falls apart and can't support the animals in it, the last step usually involves getting gentrified by jellyfish, since the same conditions that are unlivable for most are usually where Satan's shopping bags thrive. And don't think because you're on land you're safe. Not only have these blooms caused legit power outs, but about half of the oxygen on Earth comes from the same phytoplankton these blooms eat. So why am I talking about jellyfish in a video that was supposed to be about sharks? Well, if you're scared of one, you should probably thank the other. Sharks are the ocean equalizer, keeping other animals in line from their spot at the top of the food web. Near the top, we're getting to that. Basically, sharks eat the big fish that would eat the little fish that would eat the jellyfish polyps. The ocean is a Jenga tower, and sharks are the one block that can bring it all down. Now, it's not as simple as I just made it sound, where no sharks automatically means more ocean acne, but you really don't realize how fast the sea would fold without sharks. That is until you realize what their actual day looks like. Sharks aren't just the equalizer, they're the cleanup crew, mostly going around picking off the dead and dying. You won't see them chasing around small fry that probably aren't even worth it. The same way you probably wouldn't drive 45 minutes for a bag of...
I mean, I think that would be the case. I mean, sure, you can't 100% say it, like if sharks disappeared tomorrow, would that happen? I feel like it would, right? Because big predators like sharks basically would have that kind of like an effect, right? It's not just about like, do shark eat enough of these things to keep the ecosystem at that level where this jellyfish don't like thrive like that. It's not just about that. It's about like jellyfish not trying to enter the area where this shark might even be, right? Trying to hide from it and shit like that. If there is no shark around, they would just like rampantly grow, because not just of course there's going to be other predators, but those other predators might not afraid of shark, and the whole ecosystem would change, right? It's like a butterfly effect when it comes to ecosystems like this, right? A simple butterfly effect could change the whole landscape in a very different way. It's really hard to predict. Some supercomputer may be able to predict or something, but yeah.
Chips, I hope. It's why, if you want to check your ego, swim in a shiver of sharks and watch how hard you get ignored like J-Lo in the Bronx. I was surrounded by Galapagos sharks, and the closest I got to becoming a hashtag was the ocean slamming me against the bars like I owed it something. It was like an MMA cage match with Mother Nature that got way too personal. I wonder why. But yeah, the sharks could not care less about me. They really do treat you like an NPC. I did learn that because sharks can detect electromagnetic fields, if you stick a GoPro deep enough, you can say you booped a shark. Just know, that was the most action I got all day, and if more people realized how often they get snubbed by sharks even when they're right under us, you'd realize why you're statistically more likely to get flattened by a vending machine, KO'd by a coconut, or even past tense while putting socks on. Then get ready.
Yeah, I like how basically his fear of ocean he overcame or something, because I'm pretty sure I'll throat a cactus or whatever that title was of the video. That is one of the most famous videos from his channel. It was posted very early and it remained one of the famous ones. I still remember that. So there you go.
By a shark. It usually takes bad RNG or a surfer adopting the silhouette of a seal. But why are sharks so scary actually? It sounds easy, it's a prehistoric predatory steroid guppy with permateeth, but honestly I think it's deeper than that. Sharks, snakes, and spiders. These are the arguably 3 most feared animals on Earth, and it's likely because we're hardwired to be afraid of them. Snakes are legless, cold-blooded reptiles that even monkeys will throw stones at. On the other end, spiders have too many eyes, too many legs, and show up too many times in people's business to ever get good graces. Meanwhile, sharks might just represent the fear of the unknown. The ocean is an endless, uncaring...
Yeah, I think the most reason behind that is like snakes are like sneaky, slithering everywhere. Basically, the snakes, the way snakes act is literally like a symbolic thing people use to basically describe something. That's how fucked up snakes are, right? Snake will basically sneak into something, hide somewhere and stay quiet. And like if some snake gets into your home, snake can get into home with something like a bigger than thumb, right? If there is a gap bigger than thumb, there's a chance snake can get into it, right? And if snake gets into your home, it will like hide behind some kind of a furniture, crawl behind, if there's a gap below your bed or something, can crawl below that and just like stay there silently without you knowing it. Only way you know is like from smell. Apparently they smell, and if they're like discarded the skin or something, you just see left over like some crap, like how basically birds crap, pigeon crap or something like that. If you find that, you really, oh wait a minute, there's a snake here. Shit like that. So snakes are really sneaky. We don't like that stuff, right? We like to be aware, and fear of unknown is extremely high in humans. That's why sometimes you hear a bush sound, you'll think, oh, maybe there's a tiger there, even though there is no tiger where you are at 100 miles diameter or something. There's never been tiger, but you'll think, oh, probably there's a tiger there. Why the fuck would you think that? Oh, by the way, there's a ghost there. Like what? So our mind is like that. And when we think of snake like this, it's like, spider is basically the same thing. Too many legs, like I said, too many legs, too many eyes. It's just like creepy and weird. I don't have phobia of spiders, but it's still creepy, right? If I see a giant spider like that, Australia has those kind of like weird as giant spiders, right? Whatever they're called, right? If I see that, I'm like, what the fuck? I'll just walk out of that. Like, nope, never touching that. And shark is not like that, but it's different in a way that ocean, we are not supposed to swim in ocean. We are not made for it. So ocean kind of handicaps us, right? And shark is like athlete version of ocean. Basically, we are, like our hands are tied in the ocean, and sharks are too powerful and too deadly. It's basically a samurai warrior of the oceans. That's frightening. It will kill us. So basically factors like that.
Void that could wipe you out in seconds with nothing you could do about it. And projection's a hell of a drug, since that unsettling fear often gets put on the apex predators of that void. But that's a problem right there. You hear sharks and instantly think of another Jaws movie. So maybe you should see the sharks that don't make the big screen. This is a zebra shark. It's a cinnamon roll of a fish that is somehow less of a threat than the trauma donkey it's named after. The zebra shark is the beginning of sharks getting the sea dog allegations, and arguably the most dangerous thing about them is their front face. If nature wanted me to take the thresher shark seriously, they shouldn't have given them such an unserious pair of eyes. It does not matter what the situation is, threshers will always look like they really need an adult. Now they do kill prey by delivering soul-evicting slaps with that tail, but look at him. He's just a baby. I'm sure there's a lot of cool stuff about the salmon shark, but honestly all I can think of is that they're the baby Looney Tunes G-rated version of great whites. The epaulet is a shark with no regard for the laws of nature, using special fins to literally walk on land. And when sharks wake up with student loans, taxes, and only 2 weeks vacation, it's all gonna get traced back to him. This is a spinner shark, and even though it's hunting, I can't not laugh at how unserious this is. The nervous shark is literally named after how terrified they are of anything human. And whale sharks are unbelievably wholesome for a bus-sized fish with teeth in its eyes. Speaking of whale sharks, you got other plus-size filter feeders like the basking shark. They're about 30 feet long, the second biggest shark, and they're really only a threat threat to your mental health, especially since a lot of plesiosaur panic can get traced back to a dead baskie. Then there's the megamouth shark, which honestly probably would be scary if you didn't know it's also a giant krill-eating pushover that lives in the forgotten corners of the ocean.
Hello.
Then you got the sharks you forget are sharks. Imagine you're at the shore and someone screams shark, whole time they're pressed over a tasseled wobbegong, a type of carpet shark that takes the name literally by living its life as a homicidal rug. Here you have the smallest shark in the world, the lantern shark. There's a sawfish that... oh, really? Okay, well, apparently it's not actually a shark, it's a ray related to a shark. But don't worry, because this is an actual saw shark, because you know the riddle at this point is conducive to the same traits, that's convergent evolution. And you can't forget nurse sharks being so unproblematic and curious around people, scientists called it the Labrador of the sea. And I'm glad they did, because now we get to go down the rabbit hole of sharks being dogs and cats at the same time. The poor beagle is a shark named after a porpoise and a beagle. Yeah, I don't get it either, but we'll get back to that. Dogfish were named after fishermen apparently watching them chase smaller prey in packs, like dogs. But some dogfish are also cat sharks, and they got their name from the vertical feline-coated eyes. Like the small spotted cat shark is...
Okay, I 100% believe people who name these things, right? Evolutionary scientists or whatever the fuck they're basically high all the time. That's a shark, that's not a shark, but it could be shark, it's related to shark, this one is, what the fuck, nobody thinks of these things when they think of sharks, right? It's usually like those, like, you know, like Jaws style thing, like 2-3 big ones, right? And that, you know, the long face thing that can like see, what, 360 degrees or some shit, but very overpowered shark, basically something like hammerhead, right? Hammerhead shark, just shit like that, people only think of that. Pretty sure hammerhead shark is like really overpowered, like one of the most powerful that is, right?
Is also at the same time called the lesser spotted dogfish. Google says there's over 150 species of cat sharks, including the chain cat shark, or chain dogfish, because of course. Their biggest flex is they can glow green through biofluorescence. And they're not the only ones, it turns out over 50 species of sharks like kitefin and swell sharks can light up. That's about 10% of all sharks, and some actually use a light to hide. That might sound confusing, but if you're a predator in the crotch of the ocean, all you have to do is look up, and anything that looks like a shadow against the light of the sky is probably your next victim. However, if you can take a cue from a lightsaber, you can blend into the skylight and basically disappear. In fact, counter shading is the concept most sharks borrow from, and it basically means if you're above them, then the darker roof blends into the dark of the abyss, but if you're under them, the light underbelly matches the sunlight hitting the water. And when you think about it, a lot of animals use this strat to avoid problems. But some take it a step further, because scalloped hammerheads are scientifically proven to tan themselves if they sit in shallow, sun-exposed water. Some say recruiting melanin is nature's way of keeping them from getting eaten by their own kind, by making it easier for the smaller babies to hide. We got a little off track, I won't apologize for it, but the point is, if you're still afraid of sharks, then maybe you should subvert your expectations. Especially since some sharks aren't even full-time predators. The bonnethead shark is like a hammerhead with performance anxiety. It's also an omnivore that eats seagrass, and in experiments 60% of its diet included the green stuff. Whale sharks are also partly grass-fueled, and a study from Forbes found that half of what goes through them are plants like algae and sargassum. Okay, so maybe you're still afraid of sharks. Maybe it'd help if you knew what are sharks afraid of. There's only one thing that can send the Star of Jaws packing, and you already know it's orcas. Killer whales are known to mutilate great whites for their livers, and often that's all they take. The sharks have been so beaten down that Monterey-based scientists found that great whites off Farallon Islands will abandon their favorite hunting grounds for up to a year if they run into the assault cetacean once. Researchers have even started playing the sounds of orcas on—
I mean, like that doesn't make them any less fucked up, right? I mean, orcas even more fucked up because they're smart and they're like, you know, like orcas, right? I don't know, man. Yeah. Look, anything that can body you, you should be afraid of it. Or at least, no, you shouldn't be afraid of it. You should never be in a situation where you need to be afraid of it, because that's on you, right? I don't think I'll ever be in a situation where I'm afraid of something like that, because I would never make that kind of decision where I would end up like that, right? I'm afraid of tiger. Why did you go toe to toe with one? Why were you there in the first place, right? If there is some sanctuary that says like, oh, by the way, you can go in front of a tiger where the tigers are, don't worry, they're fed, so they probably won't attack you. Yeah, I'm fine, I'm not going there.
On loop to keep sharks away from beaches, and imagine minding your own business and a hairless iPhone monkey plays your ops anthem. And I wouldn't call it fear, but both dolphins and sea lions have been known to bully great whites by abusing the always superior power of friendship. Okay, now I just feel bad for them. Bull sharks are honestly the closest thing to the stereotype, and they have about the highest testosterone levels of any animal. Yeah, even more than a down bad elephant. And even the bull shark has fears, and its biggest are crocs. They often frequent the same waters, and the rageaholic of sharks gets a severe attitude adjustment just by smelling them. They've also gotten sent packing by hippos, but by
Exactly what I was thinking. Like, the fuck you on about? Don't get me twisted. An adult bull shark can give a croc problems. Prey on baby. Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure like bull shark can like fuck up croc. But yeah, okay.
a severe attitude adjustment just by smelling them. They've also gotten sent packing by hippos, but by far the strangest thing sharks are afraid of. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. There is a very real rabbit hole of the most notorious underwater predators getting pressed by some bubbles, with hammerheads and tiger sharks reportedly really uncomfortable with the bubbles from scuba tanks, and scientists even working on making bubble curtains to use as a type of bug spray, but for sharks. Which was funny until I realized dolphins probably just have them that messed up. If you want the definition of irony, it's spending 400 million plus years predator maxing just to get stressed by a SpongeBob scene transition. So play some orca opera and you'll keep sharks away, but the wrong playlist and you might just bring sharks to you. Sharks are attracted to heavy death metal music because apparently the vibrations and beats sound just like struggling or injured fish. Remember, sharks are like the morgue of the sea, and dive operators like Matt Waller will use music as a Batman symbol to attract sharks. Their favorites? According to him, AC/DC, You Shook Me All Night Long, and Back in Black are the best at getting.
So death metals are really metal apparently. There you go. That is insane. I mean, it kind of makes sense with the frequency and shit. Bubble things, like, I don't know, man. Like, they're not used to seeing bubbles. So they're like, what the fuck is that, right? It's like if you're walking at night with dimly lit places, you suddenly see a big smoke, you think that's a ghost or some shit and you run away. It's just smoke, but still. That kind of way, right? It's bubbles.
Their attention. So are certain colors, because for a while it was widely believed that the single worst color to wear if you're afraid of sharks is yellow. Matter of fact, it was nicknamed Yum Yum Yellow for how wearing it could turn you into a literal snack. The truth is, sharks are likely colorblind with only one color cone in their eye to R3, meaning they see the world in black, white, and shades of gray. Now what they can see is contrast, and anything that stands out against the ocean blue immediately gets their attention. The more you know. Now let me ask you a question. You think sharks get silly? Like you think in 400 million years of being alive, they figured out how to have fun? Well, remember the poor beagle? Scientists peeped that the shark named after a dog will roll around in kelp, tossing around like a football, and even take turns chasing each other. Gray reef sharks sink if they don't swim, so they'll often swim against current updrafts in order to surf and basically take a break from the whole just keep swimming thing. But what's crazy...
Yeah, most things on the planet shares our DNA, right? That's how it works, right? Hormones and everything. So it won't be surprising that their concept of fun must be still like ours. So that we see all the animals and we realize like, wait a minute, they also have fun, they also goof around, they also play with their siblings and things. So yeah, it kind of makes sense.
They have a conveyor belt system where once one shark reaches the end of the line, it'll let the current carry it back to where it started. You could say it's just them saving energy, but is that not the same energy as this? Sharks have been fighting stereotypes like a boxing match for years, and the closest thing to an uppercut they got is the fact that sharks have friends. In 2023, researchers found that two great whites, Simon and Jekyll, had traveled more than 4,000 miles together after being first tagged off the coast of Georgia in 2022, eventually ending up in the Gulf of St. Lawrence just off New Brunswick, Canada. It shows you how little we know about them, because a couple years ago, nobody would believe the final boss of sharks was down for a travel buddy. Shark scientist Yannis Papastamachiou linked up with researchers from the University of Hawaii, Exeter, and UC Santa Barbara to study reef sharks in the Palmyra Atoll to uncover the secret social circle of sharks. What they found was that these sharks have a literal social circle, with the same sharks hanging out together in the morning, separating and going about their business during the day, only to meet up again later. These shark groups even use the same part of the reef day after day like a high school lunch table, and these friend groups lasted the entire 4-year study. And it's not just reef sharks. By night, nurse sharks hunt alone, but during the day they join cuddle parties of up to 40 in order to save energy. It must work because white tips also power nap as a stack pack. Sand tigers are like sea coyotes where they're fusion fishing. They have a close network of sharks they associate with, and even sharks they'll meet up with multiple times a year. Scientists now believe that if a shark has their version of a best friend, it's usually someone that's roughly the same size, the same sex, and about the same age, which would explain Simon and Jekyll.
I mean, it makes sense. Common things, right? If you're too common with something, there's a chance, like even if you're not smart, you'll find similarities and mimic them. Again, human-like traits, because we have the same DNA, right? Almost same DNA, right? Most life on the planet shares almost the same DNA, so it kind of makes sense that way. And yeah, I mean, sometimes I think like, what if like something like tigers and things, evolves in a way that they starts to like hang around in circles and now hunt in pack, like how lions do things. Like what is the line where something is a lone hunter compared to pack can evolve into something like that, but it's just a change of behaviors and things, right? So it makes sense. Shark hanging around this same thing, basically like that, yeah.
But now the real question is, can sharks form bonds with people? And the answer, like everything else, is complicated. Lemon sharks are not only famous for having favorite divers, but for getting jealous and overprotective when they see that diver around others. If a nurse shark is a Labrador, the lemon shark's a golden retriever with gills. Here's my thing now, sharks will form partnerships with other fish like remoras and pilot fish where they'll pick parasites off the shark, so this could just be a lemon guppy treating a person like any other cleaning service.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, do they understand the power dynamic there? Or do they just think, like, you're a toy and why must somebody else have your toy? Because I'm pretty sure chimpanzees and sometimes can't do the wild ones, right? Like, they, basically they'll, like, treat when humans give them foods and things, they'll treat that as, like, one of their thing, right? And they'll get pissed off any other way, like, that's their toy or something.
Funny thing about pilot fish, sailors who saw them would swear they and sharks would act like close friends, and there's even stories of pilot fish chasing ships for weeks after they caught one of their sharks, apparently seeming distressed and anxious without him. And you probably wouldn't believe that if something like that didn't happen with a person. In 2001, shark conservationist Jim Abernathy removed a hook from the mouth of a tiger shark named Emma. 20 years and several more hooks later, and Jim and Emma might as well be a married couple, with Emma still recognizing and rushing up to Jim even after up to a year apart. And we're not talking about nurse or lemon sharks, that's a 14-foot garbage disposal with the personality of a lapdog. We don't know for sure if sharks can feel affection like one, but it honestly wouldn't be a surprise, since sharks are intelligent enough to be trained like
Sharks are insane and their like senses are ridiculous, right? Sharks can senses even drop of blood from long distance. So I can already see certain things like like certain changes of bodily sweat or something, some saliva or something that gives your scent, and they just realize, oh, that's you type of way. Pretty sure sharks can basically detect like that. If sharks have that kind of a strong senses, they can probably detect who are you and not you, right? But just by your small changes of things here and there, how fat, whatever, like your hormones you secrete through sweat and things, like the changes of that, sharks can probably detect that.
Like dogs. Eugenie Clark was an ichthyologist nicknamed Shark Lady who taught lemon sharks how to push a target and ring a bell for food, and they even learned how to tell apart different shapes and colors. Some aquariums in the UK train sharks to roll over and respond to signals and commands the same way Pavlov conditioned dogs. And gray bamboo sharks also figured out how to tell apart different shapes, even when researchers tried tripping them up with optical illusions. And even after 50 weeks, they still remembered their training. But really shouldn't be a surprise. Sharks were around back when Saturn was bumping Beyonce and praying on a ring. Sharks are no dummies. You gotta respect that they might be the biggest flex nature ever made. Sharks can literally track your heartbeat through electroreception. They have a built-in GPS. They have replaceable fluoride-coated teeth that can't get cavities. Some, like the Greenland shark, can live for a legit hundreds of years. You can find sharks at the very bottom of the ocean, under an active volcano, and even swimming in River Thames. And I honestly don't know what.
Yeah, sharks are so powerful, they don't even need their eyes, just by their senses, but they have eyes, because why the fuck not? Basically, nature went all out with this, like, let's make daredevil level of shit, but there you go.
To be more impressed by. Really, the only weakness sharks have is they can be put in a trance-like paralysis just by getting rotated. The tonic immobility is usually triggered by pressing down on the snout, but sharks can induce it in some painfully awkward situations. Humans usually only put sharks on standby to study and tag them. Meanwhile, orcas do it to steal their organs like a black market merchant. But this time, I'm not gonna call them an oppressive Oreo, because we do something way worse. Shark finning is the practice of cutting off the fins and tossing the now mutilated shark back into the sea, where their only option is to slowly drown.
Look, man, you can't just bring in humans into the conversation and say orcas are fine. You can do that shit about anything. Bring humans into conversation. Even the most fucked up aliens out there, if they exist, will probably feel like smaller thing compared to us. That's how fucked up we are, and our short attention span. Fucked up things could be happening in the world. We realize that, oh my god, one day later we'll playing PlayStation or something. Don't give a shit. That's what we humans are, right? When you really think about it, go CD level of things and think about how this behavior is, you realize how fucked up that is, right? So when it comes to humans, it's like, yeah, we bitch about things. We'll see, oh, we care about environment for a week and then we'll move on. right? Nothing will, essentially nothing will happen. Maybe some trajectory will change, maybe how we conduct things, but not really. Even people tell you like, oh, global warming is going to kill every single one of you. Nobody gives a shit. I guess we'll change the reality. We'll deny global warming exists. There you go. That's humans are.
Or bleed to death. Depending on the shark, that can take an excruciating 2 hours. And this is a fate that follows not hundreds, but up to 100 million sharks a year. All for something Gordon Ramsay called mid. At the end of the day, we gaslit sharks like no year. All for something Gordon Ramsay called mid.
What did it taste of? It's really bizarre because it actually tastes of nothing. The broth is really good, but it could have anything in that chicken. The bland fin doesn't deliver the heat. On learning that sharks have their fins hacked off before they are dumped back into the ocean, Rand said, leave them alone, respect their beauty. I mean, what the fuck is he gonna say else? Nah, who gives a fuck about shark? Just do your thing. Is that what he's gonna say? What else is he gonna say?
At the end of the day, we gaslit sharks like no animal has ever seen. We put up every World War combined numbers on them every trip around the sun. Meanwhile, sharks might get 10 on a good year. In fact, you can argue that for all the shark slander, humans have the highest KD ratio against them. No other wild animal gets done this dirty. Moral of the story? You know it's bad when the author of Jaws, Peter Benchley, would go on to regret writing it and dedicate the rest of his life to shark conservation. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you—
It's not bad. Jaws is like too impactful. Jaws is insanely impactful, the same way how like who wrote the Cthulhu thing? For fucking hell, I'm forgetting name. I always have for what is his name? Whatever, right? That people at like who were like born back then multiple decades before when this was like really strong. It still is today, but yeah, back then there were people who are literally afraid of ocean because of it, because they read these things, read these novels. They don't want to do anything with those. They see water, they panic. And I can understand that. I love whatever lore that is surrounding me. I love Tolkien's because I grew up watching that. I love Elder Scrolls because I grew up playing that. I love Warhammer because I guess you people, like exposed me to that and it's awesome, right? SCP, another thing you exposed me to. I love all this shit. Now imagine somebody loving those Cthulhu lore and realizing, I would be terrified as well if I were born back then. So Jaws is that level of impactful when it comes to sharks. Sharks are still fucked up, just like tigers are fucked up. But I bet people will be more afraid of sharks than they're afraid of a tiger. A Bengal tiger, if you see it, there'll be something that you can control. Your nervous system will break down. You will be literally frozen. You won't be able to move even if you want to. You know that sleep thing? When you're frozen in sleep, night terrors, whatever they call, you see your room, you see everything, but you can't really move and you hallucinate something. And it panics you. You're kind of awake but not. That's the element you would face if you face a Bengal tiger, like proper with roar and everything. But yet you'll still be more afraid of a shark than that. Because of Jaws. So it's not that far off. He's like, oh man, I did too. He was just trying to make something. Like, oh, this is interesting. That's it. He probably didn't realize what kind of impact that would have.
You had as much fun as I did. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, I'm going to be posting the full GoPro footage of me swimming with sharks. Nothing too crazy. But other than that, make sure you drink water, hug your mother, R.I.P. Peter Benchley, R.I.P. Eugenie, and yeah, I'm going to see y'all in the next one.
Okay, I guess he did say that he would never go into ocean, but it's like going inside this cage. So I guess it's like he probably checked cage if it's strong enough or not. I would do that. I would not go into ocean either, but I would like maybe okay, fine. If I look like a bitch in front of my friends and my family, like I have to go, I'll probably like, yeah, I can go. I'm not afraid of that. Yeah, come on, I'm not afraid of that. And like check the cage and everything. It better be strong. I would go as well. But yeah, there you go. Right, well, that was why the world without sharks might be your biggest nightmare. Yeah, makes sense. It's a big ass predator. The ecosystem would be fucked, right? It's like what happens if lions disappeared? Hyenas would thrive. Who knows what hyenas would do? What if hyenas disappear? How powerful lions would get? Like how dominant, right? Compared to they already are. I'm surprised that humans can care about dogs and cats because how fucked up we are. That numbers of like sharks, that doesn't surprise me. Even to this day, people justify just because it's their job. Like, this is how I put food in my table. Find something else. World is big. Are you fucking kidding me? But yeah, people just justify should do unspeakable things to other animals. But I'm surprised we can care about cats and dogs. At least that's something. I don't know, is this consolation prize? But that, after learning all these things, if I were alien, I learn all these things, I would be like, oh man, you just terrible people. No way you care about anything. And then I learn like, wait a minute, you care about cats and dogs. That would actually surprise me. Alright, well, if you like my next, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.